Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to take a stack of truly vivid sources focused entirely on human speech, specifically its dangerous, untamable power. And we want to extract the profound insights. We really want to understand how this ancient wisdom applies directly to our very modern, very loud world. And the sources, they immediately grab you with a pretty startling premise. I want to start with the hook that just stopped me cold. What force is faster than light, more dangerous than a wild animal, and ultimately more destructive than an uncontrolled fire? The answer, according to all the sources we've unpacked, is the human tongue. That's a massive claim. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's an immediate challenge to our preconceptions, isn't it? The whole philosophical and behavioral context for this dive is rooted in a specific, highly assertive body of text. It draws very heavily on a scriptural passage, James 3:7-8, which just lays down this stark challenge. The core assertion that we're grappling with is that, inherently no human being can tame the tongue. It's described as a restless evil full of deadly poison. So our mission isn't religious, it's behavioral. We're using these powerful, almost violent metaphors, fire, poison, wild animals, to really assess how this ancient view of human communication holds up when you consider the sheer volume, the velocity, and the virtual nature of communication in 2026. This isn't just theory, it's a manual for navigating toxicity.
Right, a manual. And the source doesn't just name the dangers in, general terms. It uses 3 specific analogies, and each one represents a different way speech can just unleash destruction. Let's start with the loudest one. Fire. The tongue is compared to fire, but, and this is the key part, the source notes it's actually harder to control than fire itself. When we control fire, we harness it. It's productive.
It generates energy, provides warmth.
Exactly. It's essential for industry. But the moment it's uncontrolled, it only destroys. It feels like there is no middle ground. The tongue is either this powerful servant or an absolute disaster.
That's the key distinction. Fire usually spreads accidentally, but words often start with conscious intent. The untamed tongue is inherently, almost pathologically destructive. And that leads us to the second analogy, which is even more direct. The untamable wild animal. The source describes the tongue as this restless, dangerous creature that cannot be truly contained. And because it cannot be contained, it is relentlessly pouncing to kill, constantly seeking prey.
Okay, but if the tongue is truly untamable by humans, like the sources claim, then why do we even bother? Why do we spend so much societal energy on laws, on contracts, codes of conduct, ethics policies? Aren't those just massive human attempts to tame the corporate and social tongue?
That's where the analysis gets really sharp. Those systems, the laws, the contracts, they're external restraints. They're like fences built around the animal to mitigate the harm.
So they manage the consequences.
Exactly, the consequences of the untamed nature, but they don't change the nature itself. The source uses this great example of driving through a hunting park, a safari. You see these animals. They might look calm, but there are strict, absolute warnings. Do not open the window, do not leave the vehicle. And why the strictness? Because that creature, that animal, is capable of deadly violence in an instant.
No matter how calm it looks.
No matter how calm it looks. The uncontrolled tongue is placed in the exact same category. It might appear peaceful one moment, but it's capable of causing serious harm the next. Tamed animals, if it were possible, become helpers. But the source insists that inherent human control over this particular element just fails.
That leads us to the third metaphor, which is far less explosive than, fire or a charging animal, but maybe even more sinister. Deadly poison or toxin.
Yes, and unlike the sudden violence of a wild animal or the noisy destruction of a fire, the poison is a subtle danger. The source describes it working secretly and slowly before it reaches its destructive climax. It's not about the immediate explosion, it's about ambient toxicity.
That slow, secretive spread is terrifyingly relevant today, isn't it? The source notes that individuals with genuine malicious intent, those harboring resentment or ill will, they deliberately inject this drop of venom into conversations. They aren't looking for a confrontation.
No, not at all.
They are hoping it spreads naturally, that it injures the target not through a direct attack, but through this ambient, decentralized toxicity that other people then carry.
Exactly. It's passive aggression weaponized. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the scope of the damage caused by these toxic tongues is it's staggering. The author specifically cites immense damage done to individuals, to families, to small groups, and even entire organizations. This is not theoretical damage. We're talking about relational and structural collapse.
When you put it in those terms, it makes the source's risk management analogy crystal clear. You would never, ever, under any circumstances, intentionally place a hungry lion or an enraged, venomous snake in a gathering space. Yet the sources argue an uncontrolled human tongue can yield the exact same destructive results in that very same setting.
It forces you to realize that our failure to control our speech is treated in these sources as equivalent to introducing a physical threat to a public space.
Yeah.
That is the level of seriousness we're meant to apply to malicious gossip or, explosive words.
But that raises a really important behavioral question. Who exactly is the target of this destructive speech? I mean, it seems unlikely that everyone is equally affected by gossip or lies or all this poisonous chatter.
The sources make a very keen observation here about vulnerability. They suggest that most people possess high relational trust and low cynicism. These are people who operate with good faith, and crucially, they tend to believe what they hear. Because they're open and they're trusting, they become the most susceptible targets for manipulation.
So we're not talking about simpletons. We're talking about people who are genuinely seeking truth and fellowship and connection. And their very goodness, their lack of a defensive shield, that's what makes them vulnerable to being hurt.
Precisely. Therefore, the negative impact, often stemming from explosive emotions or volatile temperaments, is far more likely to land and cause harm to these high-trust individuals. The source observes that the people who are often hurt the most are those who are trying to live sincerely.
Who is immune, if anyone is?
Well, conversely, the harmful speech is often less effective against those the sources call the seasoned or the thick-skinned. These are individuals, maybe seasoned in business or high-pressure social environments, who have developed a sort of a necessary mechanism of cynicism. They just ignore the negativity. They have a robust filtration system, and the poison often fails to penetrate or take root. It's a sad irony, really, that the armor of cynicism often provides better protection than simple sincerity.
That raises the stakes significantly, doesn't it? Because all this talk of ancient, untamable forces meets the single biggest game changer in communication history: the speed and the scale of our digital reality. We have to bring this into the 2026 context. The sources include this delightful little parable about speed. A teacher asks students, what is the fastest thing? And while physics, of course, dictates light traveling over 300,000 kilometers per second, one child suggests a surprising answer: the tongue.
And that's where it gets really interesting. Why the tongue? Because even though light is physically fast, the tongue can instantly boast or lie. I have circled the earth 100 times now. The very ability to utter that statement, whether it's true or false, gives the illusion of speed surpassing light. The damage, the influence, the spread of the lie or the boast is functionally instantaneous.
And now, in 2026, that challenge of instantaneous influence is exponentially greater. Communication is no longer limited to the face-to-face exchanges of the ancient world. The speed with which negativity can spread is now, well, it's completely unchecked.
Indeed. We are in the AI, the artificial intelligence era, where technology fully impacts every single word spoken. The source specifically warns that modern vectors like podcasts, ubiquitous video clips, and streaming channels. These are platforms where influence, both positive and negative, is amplified globally and immediately. The very act of broadcasting carries an immense responsibility because what we say instantly affects potentially millions of lives. But the new insidious danger is the technology layer itself. We are dealing with rampant virtualization, advanced faking, and sophisticated generation techniques. Voices and words can be simulated or imitated with chilling accuracy. What you see or hear may not be real, and the source of the toxicity may be completely undetectable, which increases the potential for that poison to spread faster than light itself and totally unverified.
So we have this untamable, fire-starting, poisonous, and now hyper-amplified weapon. This is the moment to face the most uncomfortable truth from the source material. If no human being can tame the tongue, what is the viable defense?
That's the critical pivot point, and why this deep dive is so vital for modern life. The sources reinforce the human limitation. We cannot tame the tongue alone. But this is immediately followed by the caveat and the solution. External aid is available, though it requires cooperation from the individual. Taming is impossible for us, but filtering is a necessary duty.
So if we accept that we can't control the origin of the poison, the toxic people around us, we have to control our response and our own filtration system.
Yeah.
What is that cooperation, that defensive response? What does that look like in practical, actionable terms?
It looks like ethical restraint. The primary advice is to avoid responding with malice, evil for evil. This is the hardest part. The source provides a wonderfully vivid comparison for this. It says if a dog barks wildly and aggressively at you, you should not get down on all fours and bark back.
That is such a powerful image. It immediately clarifies the standard. Retaliation doesn't raise us to their level, it lowers us to theirs.
Exactly. The source is saying that our inability to control the tongue internally does not give us permission to engage in outward malice. We must not lower our standards simply because someone else has lowered theirs. Therefore, the actionable defense is twofold. First, avoidance and physical distance where possible. Don't keep feeding the lion. Second, and more importantly for the modern digital age, is applying a robust internal standard of truth. We must actively use our highest character and ethical standards to filter and guard against the toxin that's attempting to breach our personal boundaries and pollute our mind. Choosing not to spread the negativity, even when it feels justified, is the ultimate act of cooperation and control.
What an incredible deep dive into what is arguably the most powerful and misused tool humanity possesses. We started with the untamable nature of speech, recognizing that it is either a helpful, harnessed, force-like controlled fire, or a restless, deadly destroyer. And we've seen how in the 2026 AI environment, the danger isn't just the speed of the lie itself, but the simulated nature of the lie, which challenges the very foundation of trust and verifiable reality.
Absolutely. The material makes it clear that while human effort alone fails to tame the tongue at its source, we are obligated to apply standards of truth to filter the incoming poison. So given the rapid, simulated, and potentially false nature of communication today, where voices and images can be faked and spread instantly, how do you consciously determine and apply your standard of truth? How do you filter the poison that is now spreading faster than light itself? Think about what you choose to believe, what you choose to share, and what level of cynicism is necessary to survive the digital environment without sacrificing your character.